Drinking life from a fire hose, it seems sometimes. Sound familiar? This is life in the ASAP lane. If you're feeling anxious, stressed, addicted, pressured, you are not alone. In fact, there's a global epidemic of stress and anxiety. Many aren't able to cope without the use of pills, alcohol, food, even retail therapy, shopping. The result is record levels of opioid overdose deaths, obesity levels, and teen suicide attempts. The good news is, there is an exit ramp, and your host, best-selling author, and former U.S. Congressman Alan Steelman will guide you to your very own exit. Alan's mission is to help you learn about and adopt strategies and techniques to restore balance and equilibrium to your life. You'll learn from Alan and his guests simple and practical stress-relieving techniques, and you will be inspired by numerous interviews with other people just like you, who have moved from stressed out to charged up, and from misery to mastery. You are cordially invited to join us and learn to live your life in joy and on purpose. Take a deep breath. Let's begin exiting the ASAP lane with Alan.
Okay, welcome everyone to a very special episode of Exiting the ASAP Lane. You know, life in the digital age is difficult for all of us, but it's especially so for kids and teens. And the topic of today's episode is one that I think all of you, whether you're a parent or whether you are a teen, or even haven't even reached your teen years maybe, or perhaps you're already in college, but teen anxiety and stress in the digital and social media age is particularly acute. The anxiety and stress, as I thought about this episode, that I experienced when I was that age many years ago, and that all of us have experienced as teens, is the same anxiety and stress, and frankly it's probably a lot of the same issues, but it's really on steroids today for today's teens, given the pace of life and the pace of social change. All of our insecurities about our personal appearances, do our friends like us, am I attractive, the pressure to make our grades in school, these are now operating in the social media realm of Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You know, for example, bullies have always been with us, but now they can do their work in cyberspace and even do it anonymously if they so choose. And you know, it really should be said at the outset that the digital age has brought enormous advantages to all of us, so it's not all bad news. For example, just think about all the time we spent in libraries laboriously reading and researching all those reports we had to write, and this is now available with a simple click on our digital device or on our smartphone. And you know, some wise person said recently that never in the history of mankind is more information than available to us, but never have we been in greater need of wisdom and clear thinking. So the topic today really addresses the dark side of this, and if you're a teen or a parent, I hope you find today's broadcast helpful in your own life. My guests today are three very ambitious, hard-working students at a very important school in Dallas, Texas. The senior among our group today is Amber Jory, and I'll introduce Amber to take questions and make comments a little bit later. The freshman in our group is Sonia Dingra, and the sophomore is Alexandria King. All of them hardworking, all of them ambitious, and I would imagine, without asking, probably with parents acting as accountability partners on grades and being good students. Am I correct?
Yes.
I hope all of you heard that knowing laugh that was in the background there. So the headline in a recent Wall Street Journal article, I think, summarizes the issue very succinctly. The headline read, and this was just this last week in fact, "The Teenage Social Media Trap." Teens, that was the headline. The subhead was, "Teens are increasingly measuring and managing their social success online, and it may be taking a toll on their mental health." This quote from a mother struggling even with her 11-year-old daughter, and it's a struggle that many parents are going through today, and she articulates the damage she feels is being done. She says, and I quote, I quote her, in fact, "I put the Norman family parental control on her phone some time ago," her daughter again being an 11-year-old, "which replaces Safari with a parental guidance browser and prevents apps from being deleted or downloaded. It also deleted Instagram and Snapchat and Musical.ly. I knew it was the toughest conversation I was ever going to have with my 11-year-old daughter, and yes, there was arguing and tears for 2 days. But then, surprisingly, nothing. Life went on normally. She still bounced on the trampoline in the backyard, played with her bunny, texted with her friends. No more coming to me anxiety-ridden that some girls had made fun of her at school that day for her picture. All of a sudden, my, quote, counseling sessions with her went down to nearly zero because I no longer had to console her over the many hurts that social media caused. It even helped me," the mother says, "step away from Facebook more, asking myself, why do I really need to feel envious of other people's vacations?" And the best thing ever was her, my daughter, coming to me, the mother, 3 weeks later saying, "You know, Mom, I'm really doing okay without social media." So my 3 guests today are all dealing with this from the very front lines, as one might say, and I'm grateful that they all agreed to share with all of us what stresses and strains they're dealing with as teens in today's digital age. So introducing again Sonia Dingra, who's a freshman. Amber is a senior and Alexandria a sophomore. And Sonia, let me begin with you, because I know you recently penned an op-ed article that appeared in the Dallas Morning News, and the headline was "The Need to Slow Things Down."
Yes.
So could you elaborate a little bit on the need to slow things down, and in particular some of the things that you are personally doing and encouraging others to do to help cope with the pace of life today?
Right, so I go to a very rigorous school, which is great. I mean, I have a lot of outside commitments, which are also great to be part of, and I'm so lucky to be a part of them. But it feels like sometimes like I have emails with all these opportunities and all this stuff I have to do. I have a calendar online with all of my assignments and deadlines, and it adds up to be a lot. And then also if you weigh that with just needing to still be in touch with friends and be on social media, it just comes to a point where you're very busy. You never feel like you're fully invested in one thing because you have so much stuff to do. You're just waiting for the week to be over so you can just crash and get home, wait for it to start all over again. So it's just I thought there has to be a better way than just doing the cycle all over again. So I mean, there's so many things you can do, but honestly, I do art, I do yoga. That's what calms me down. It's really whatever it's up to you, but it's just important to find some things and cut yourself that time.
So talk a little about your article mentioned both yoga and art, and the fact that you also teach both of those, I think, to younger kids. So talk a little bit about what you personally get out of yoga and meditation, and what you feel those younger students are getting out of it.
Right, so I'm going to start by saying I'm not an expert. I'm not like a big yogi. I find it important. I taught younger girls because I know, especially today, it's basically like getting these girls ready for what we're going to be going through, which is getting each year there's more pressure and more things you need to get done. So if I thought from a younger age, if you knew how to cope with all these problems and all these stresses and didn't wait till later, then you'd be on a much better foot.
It's very interesting that you say that, because the Dalai Lama recently said that if we could teach every 8-year-old to meditate, we could heal the planet of violence in one generation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it all does start in the mind, doesn't it? Every act of violence and anger, jealousy, all these things that cause some of us to do stupid things all start because of that monkey brain that we're all born with. So anyway, Alexandra or Amber, anything you would like to say on kind of the need to slow things down in the pace of not only going to a demanding school, but being ambitious yourselves and wanting to make the very best of your lives?
I have a really quick story that just happened to me in November. I was in the midst of 19 college apps. I'm trying to keep my grades up. I was doing debate. It was a really, really busy time. And Thanksgiving break came, and my parents told me to sign up for this like 1 week class. They've been doing it since I was little. It's like a breathing and like yoga class, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, I don't have time to go for 4 hours for 5 days. Like, I have to get these apps done. Absolutely not. And they put their foot down. They're like, we're tired of seeing you crying. I was so stressed I couldn't even laugh. Like, I really wish it wasn't myself. And you know, it sounds cheesy, but I went for those 5 days, and they confiscate your phone, and I was around a bunch of people I'd never met before, and I came out and I was just so much more productive. Like, I did the work that I've been trying to do for 3 weeks in that weekend. Like, I was just so much better. I was waking up earlier, and that's when I really realized that like mental health isn't just something that people say you need to do or something my parents are hounding me, but like I need to look after it myself, especially going to college. That was a really good lesson.
So what kind of things what kind of activities did you and the group engage in during that?
The programs, I don't know if I can, the program's name is Art of Living.
Yes.
And they do like a series of breathing exercises, and it's like a 30-minute kind of routine you would do every day. Similarly how people like go to the gym to exercise, it's like a mental health exercise, and it kind of just gives you something to do to kind of clean out and relax, and so they taught me that throughout that week. And I'd done it when I was little, but this was kind of a refresher course for teens, and it really helped me a lot.
So it was a meditation weekend?
Yeah, it was like a meditation week, like a Thanksgiving break, getaway, reset kind of thing. And it was the best thing I've ever done.
That's good. Alexandra, I know that you've told me a lot about your ambitions and how hard you're working to try to get into the college of your choice. And even though you're still, I guess, 1 year behind, or maybe even 2 years behind what Amber just described, are you already feeling the stress of the college applications process and all the testing and all that sort of thing?
I definitely am feeling that stress, and I think the normal feeling for an ambitious student is like what Sonia was saying, seeing all the emails with different opportunities and wanting to spend time with your friends and wanting to do the normal things, but also wanting to stay on top of all your assignments really piles up on top of you. So what I found is a really healthy coping mechanism. I personally do not do yoga, but I know that if you just make time for yourself every day, or at least try to, it makes it so much easier. But even then, it still can collapse on top of you, and I think all three of us can say how difficult that is, seeing and experiencing how that stress piles up on top of you.
Right. Now, I know that when you've told me about your career ambitions, you've talked about running for elective office someday.
Yes.
And you've already started the process by running for office at your school.
Yes.
Does that bring any extra stress with it, along with all the other stresses of making your grades? And
Well, like last night was a battle because today I had a very difficult math test and I had to write my speech for student council. So obviously neither assessment could wait. So what I tried to do was schedule my quizzes and my tests kind of sporadically throughout next week, so that way they wouldn't be all tomorrow on top of the student council speech. That worked to some effect, but then I just kind of had to break it up and try to use my breaks at school and say, you just have to be productive, and as long as you stay organized and stay on top of things, you'll really get through it.
so that's why I got an email from you after midnight last night confirming today's arrangements, right?
That is true.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Green Hill's tough.
Yeah. What's tough?
Green Hill, our school,
Yes.
it's really difficult to do other things and keep up with it academically. It's very demanding. So.
Yes. Okay, shifting focus a bit to social media. So you heard the quote from the mother who was dealing with the pressures of social media on her 11-year-old. Could you all talk about, none of you have ever known a time when there was not social media. You're of an age when there's always been social media. Could you all talk a little bit about the good things and the bad things and what you see and all the various apps that are available to you and keeping up with your friends and the pressures that come with that?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first, I guess. So social media can be great. I mean, there's so many, you get news off of it. You can connect with old friends and keep up with friends that you don't get to see. You can learn new things that people are doing. ways. There's just so many ways it can help, but also it can lead, if you use it badly, I guess that's how you would say it. It can lead to like bad times. Sometimes people get invested in social media and they stake like their appearance on it, like how they come across. They feel like that should be displayed in how they post on social media. There's like a way where you just check and see how many people are liking, how many people are commenting, how many people are just like looking at your feed. Like that becomes self-worth, and they're not really isolating that from the rest of their life. So it's just like social media becoming their life. It's becomes hard to really see yourself for who you are rather than how other people perceive you in a way.
Yeah. Alexandria, do you have any comments on that?
I totally agree with what Sonia is saying. I think a lot of, I personally don't struggle with how people perceive me on social media, but I know a lot of other girls my age really struggle with that. But I also know that social media in general, or when you're looking at it, you can lose so much time and lose track of time. And when you add that on top of trying to stay organized and trying to keep up with your assignments, if you accidentally spend 30 minutes on Snapchat and you're like, oh no, I could have done my math homework, or I could have done something else. And that in general, on top of the stress within the environment itself, is, I think, causes a lot of issues.
Amber?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And another thing I just wanted to add is I think the biggest harm, at least that I've seen with social media, is the competition it creates, because I think individually everyone's doing their best, however they're doing it. They're trying to study, they're trying to keep their friends, they're trying to do all of that. And with social media, sometimes you just see these people and they're studying and they're also having time to like hang out with people, and they go to cool concerts, and suddenly they get into 5 colleges, and you just see that snapshot and you're like, I'm not doing enough.
Right.
And I think it's just what you were saying about like your self-worth depending on that, but also just seeing the best part of people's lives and being like, man, I thought I was working hard, but this people can do it all.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And everybody's trying to put, from what I've read, their very best face forward, and their life's not nearly as perfect as they're making it.
Yeah, colleges will come in 7 different posts, so it's like, I didn't get into college, I got into 7. And it's just a thing everyone does, so then you kind of feel like, oh, maybe I should too, I don't know.
Yeah. So, have your parents, just reverting back to the mother and the talk about her 11-year-old, when you all were 3 or 4 years younger than you are now, did you have a bigger problem with it? And were your parents trying to monitor your use of it in any way?
I definitely, when I was younger, I think I spent way too much time on it. I've noticed sort of as I've matured, it's not become as important, I guess, but it's still a major part of all of our lives. But I've noticed that the more I try to consciously put it away, like, I remember there was a week where I'm like, okay, we're just gonna put it down, you're gonna set your phone in the other room, because I was suffering with my grades a little bit, and I know that I was like actively on Instagram and actively on Snapchat, and I was even on Twitter, and that's a big thing for me because I usually don't use my Twitter. And so I said, no, you're gonna put your phone in the other room, and you're gonna do all your homework assignments, and you're gonna get everything that you need to get done first, and be productive. And that helps so much. And now I'm just kind of subconsciously, I'm like, oh, I forgot to go on, I didn't go on Instagram today, and that's, yeah.
Right. Okay. One alarming feature of life in the social media age among teens is the pretty dramatic increase in teen suicide attempts. And I know that mental health is openly discussed at Green Hill. Could you all elaborate a little bit on some of your fellow students and some of their experience? And
So one thing our school does that I think is a little special is senior speeches. So at the end of the year, every senior will give, it's usually a very personal narrative about their time, and it's usually to help younger students. And this year it was astonishing. Like, a lot of people I know really well detailed stories of how they almost took their own lives, and it was really heartbreaking because these are people I talk to every single day, and many of them I would never guess that they were going through that. And at Green Hill, it's one of the, I don't know if it's one of the few schools, but we do discuss this very openly, and I realized how much of a problem it was this year, especially in our community.
So did they say that it was anything in particular that was driving them to potentially doing this? Was it pressure of grades, peer pressure from social media, any particular factors?
I feel like a big thing that happens that leads students to feel like this is the isolation, at least from what I got from the speeches. Like, you have a bunch of friends on social media, you have a ton of likes, you go to school, you're all smiley, but after those 7 hours end, your contact also ends there, and you like convince everyone you're happy through Instagram, but like really internally people are suffering because they need someone to talk to and they feel alone, and I think that's the feeling that led a lot of students to a really bad place.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. As I listened to these speeches this year, I definitely felt that a common theme was isolation. They all had different personal struggles that were very specific, but something that rose about was that they always felt isolated because of whatever struggles they were going through. They didn't feel that they could relate to anybody. And I think this kind of could connect on the social media aspect, or putting your best face forward, is that some people don't really feel comfortable to say that they're not okay. And I remember, I forgot who came up with the phrase this year, but somebody said it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And I think that's something that's not remembered. It's forgotten most of the time.
Well, that's a good point. So with everyone trying to put their best face out there, what they're saying is, I'm perfect,
Yeah.
when they're not. But those people viewing that say, my goodness, their life is so much better than mine, therefore something's wrong with me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just add, we had a program at school, and there was a speaker who said, no one puts like fights they've had or like bad grades on social media, because that's just like sharing like maybe you can call bad things about your life. I mean, they're normal, but they'd be considered bad. You just put things that you really find makes you look good. And so when these kids were up there talking, they said like maybe on social media they would have like lots of friends, and they would look like they had lots of friends, but at the end of the day they didn't have anyone to talk to, and they felt all their friends were doing fine, which maybe they weren't. It's just like
Right.
everybody seems like they're doing totally fine, and that was what was so mind-blowing about it.
Sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, sorry, I know we were trying to move through, but
No,
oh,
please.
okay, good. Oh, just one quick thing I wanted to add was I call myself out 100% for this. This year, like, when I was going, since I'm a senior, college is kind of the thing, people are posting about that, and I caught myself putting my best face forward because I got into the 3 colleges I really wanted to, and I was posting, and people were so excited for me, and I was visiting them, but like internally and in my family, it was actually a really big dilemma because we were trying to decide where to go, and my parents were on one side and I was on the other, and it was causing me so much stress because I had to put my deposit in, but from the outside, people were like, oh, you're so lucky, like this is exactly what you wanted. And I feel like, I'd come to school and I kind of wanted to talk about it, but I felt like I'd already shown a certain perspective, like a certain vision of what my life was looking like right now, that I just couldn't talk to anybody. And then I caught myself doing exactly what I, kind of don't like seeing other people do, so.
Okay. I mentioned cyberbullying earlier, and that is a big problem in a lot of places. Is that an issue in your lives, or in the lives of any of your friends, where people are anonymously, internet trolls who are saying bad things either about you or your friends that's causing anguish?
I haven't experienced this in the last few years, but I know that some of my friends in middle school had a rough bout with it because there were some Instagram pages rating people on how pretty they were, or how smart they were, or who should be a couple, and it was just kind of a bunch of silly middle school things that you don't really pay attention to till you're out of, till you're actually mature.
Yeah.
But I think that definitely hurts some people, especially if they already were feeling insecure.
Yeah. Also, we go to a smaller school where the administration's very involved, so
Very.
I don't know if we have the same experience as some other students.
I definitely think we've are different, kind of like an outlier in this set of data, because also too, since we're such a small, close-knit community, and also that kind of behavior is not condoned on or off campus, so I think that's something that we don't really experience much of.
Okay, some of the data suggests that the anxiety from social media is more acute among girls than it is among boys because of the focus on appearance and all the things that, would you think that's accurate or not?
I definitely think that's accurate, especially with the last example I just shared with my middle school career. I definitely think that, especially because we're all girls here, we know what it's like, that kind of small hidden girl talk or the girl code, and you think, well, wow, she's so pretty and she's doing so many sports and she's just living her life, and you feel the need. There's like, I don't understand it, but there's just within girls, there's just always the need to compete with each other, or like kind of an understanding that that's what you're
Right.
supposed to do.
Right.
I've never really felt that myself, but I know that I've felt others projecting that onto me, and it's always been very uncomfortable. So you can't win if you're the smartest girl in school, you can't win if you're not doing so well in school, you can't win if you're pretty, you can't win if you're not pretty.
The
It-
whole
You can't get a whole package either.
Yeah,
And so I think that's definitely true. I think that the difference between kind of, if we're only looking at girls and boys, I think that's a very big difference between them. I do think that there's another set of issues for boys, but I think that social media with the whole feeling attractive thing is very pinpointed or focused for girls.
yeah.
I'll just share quick stories. So yesterday I was just with my friend, and there's like this fun app where you can take pictures and it looks like they're taken with like an old camera, so it looks kind of filtered, it looks cool. So I took one of her that she liked and she wanted to share it on Instagram. So after she went through the whole, picking a filter, then she had to choose a caption, that took her forever, and then finally when she shared it, she was like almost nervous. She was always scrolling down to see how many likes popped up, and like she's begging everybody to comment on it so it wouldn't look like she was alone, and it felt like, and then when I didn't pay much attention, and then later I realized like that's kind of common, that's what people
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
and then like if there's not that many likes, they'll take it down because then it looks like people didn't like it, and it just, like, you'll look at other people's pictures and you'll think they look better, and
Right.
then you're like, like you guys said, why am I not like that? It's just, it becomes so much just over like one picture. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, let me close out on this, and I want to thank the three of you very much for these very insightful comments. I know they will be helpful to others of your own age. Hopefully they will be of help to parents. There is a saying that you never get out of high school. Have you heard that one before?
That's not true.
I know you. Well, no,
that's not true.
well, let me tell you, I think it is true. However, the good news is that whatever you are taking with you out of your high school years, while those memories will always be with you, and the strengths that you take and maybe the insecurities that you take, the important thing is to find a way to maintain mental balance and equilibrium in your life. Life is like the sea. It's often calm, it's choppy some days, and there'll always be a few tsunamis in our lives. Finding a way through yoga, meditation, exercise, other means, provides a surfboard, if you will, to surf the seas of life, even including the tsunamis. So I can tell you from my own experience, and I'm a lot older than the three of you, that I still carry a lot of my high school securities and insecurities, but along the way I have found my surfboard, and I hope that all of you will look upon it that way, that there's a way to navigate all this, and it's all going to be good. And particularly I think for the three of you, your future is very bright, and finding that own personal surfboard will really be critical, I think. So again, thank all of you very much. Thanks to all the listeners, and this is Exiting the ASAP Lane, signing off. Thank you.